Hello and welcome back to the Truth or Grief podcast. Thanks for all your support on the previous episodes. It's been great to see. We do have a return from Lauren after your first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit nervous coming on to do that first one, but I think, you're back now, so...
Couldn't have been that bad.
No. So yeah, after the going over your first episode, obviously we just mentioned that you was a bit nervous about doing it, but how do you feel that's gone? How you feel good after doing that? Feeling better?
Yeah, I think I was really nervous, but I think it went all right, and I hope everyone enjoys it and it can be relatable. And if it helps at least one person, then I've done my job.
Yeah, I think we went into it. We didn't want to go too deep into things, and we knew that there was going to be future episodes to discuss things. But I think already, looking at what we've covered there, it's given a nice dynamic perspective from Connor. So yeah, it's been it was a good episode, and hopefully everyone
I hope
watching
everyone
this
agrees. Yeah.
So today we want to talk about something a bit different. We also mentioned that this podcast is going to be all forms of grief, no matter what the background is of that grief. We kind of want to discuss that. So one of the things that we want to get across today is mental health.
Yes.
So mental health has been something that you've been quite open with, at least us, about. And your close friends, but yeah. So where does that all begin for you?
I think quite early on, if I'm being completely honest, as far back as I remember, I've always struggled with my mental health. Not that I think I knew it was mental health back then. I think I was just a bit strange, a little bit misunderstood, and I think it took for me to get into my late teens to realise that it was like mental health I was struggling with. I wasn't just miserable and upset all the time, like there was a reason for it. So, but it took a long time to get to that point. But yeah, it started quite young.
As for someone who hasn't experienced any mental health struggles, because I feel like mental health is a broad term used for lots of different things. So from your perspective, what was your mental health throughout that? So like what was the things that you struggled with personally?
So I think as a child, my mum has told me many a time, I was just very angry. There was no kind of reasoning with me. It was my way or no way. I hated the word no, which I think most kids do. But it would be the point I would do anything in my power to turn that no into a yes. I could be quite manipulative. I could be very rude. I'd kick and scream, and my mum would just give in because it's the easy option. Like, what do you do when your child just thrown itself in the supermarket in front of everyone? You just want him to stop, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think because my mum never set in like the boundaries, because she couldn't be bothered, if I'm being complete. I wouldn't want to deal with me as a child, so she did what she could, and that obviously followed through. And yeah, I've just always been very angry. Just the littlest thing would set me off. So something very minuscule to you or someone else would be like huge to me, to the point of maybe like dropping a spoon on the floor. I would be like, oh my God, and have like a full-on rage, and it would be, chill out, like what's the matter? But to me, it was just everything. And I think that kind of, as I got older, got worse. And then when I went to secondary school, that's when the anxiety started. But I never knew what anxiety was. I just felt sick every day. My heart would race, like I thought I had something like medically wrong with me, because my heart would race. I'd get sweaty. I'd feel sick. I'd get dizzy. It would like physically affect me. And I thought, I need to go to the doctors. I need to do this. Like something's really wrong with me. And I would never go to school because I was so anxious and I felt so ill. and I was scared of the world around me almost, that I would go in late so I didn't have to go in around everyone else. My friends used to have a running joke and like message in the morning, are you coming in with us today, Lauren, or are you meeting us at school? And I can't even tell you why or where it started, but it's just been something that I think gradually got worse and worse and worse because it was never dealt with. But I don't know where you start to deal with it. So
was that a feeling that's kind of with you 24/7?
yeah.
So there was no period in time where you felt a bit more calm at those stages, or
My safe place was my bedroom.
Yeah.
So when my friends would come round, they would come straight into my room. I'd eat my dinner in my room. I'd sleep in my room. I had an ensuite like toilet in my room, so I went to the toilet, not in my room, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I had no reason to leave. That is where I felt at ease. It was my safe space. So the thought of having to leave that's when everything would get worse. Because even in my room, I wasn't cured. It's not like everything went away, but that was my comfortable spot in my bed, on my bed, and that was it. My friends, as I said, would come and see me, and my mum would just be like, she's in her room. Like, I would never use my house, and that's quite strange to look back on.
So do you think that's... So I guess, well, you felt safe there because you can control that space, where you can control the social environments that necessarily...
I think so. There's probably a part of that. I couldn't control much that's gone on in my life, even prior to Nelly. But that was my space. I could choose who came in it. I could choose when people left, and like I could choose when I came and went. But yeah, I think everything just got worse when I went to secondary school.
Was that because of secondary school, or do you think that was a combination of age? Because face it, when you're going into secondary school, a lot of things are changing anyway. Or was there anything outside of secondary school that was causing it? Or do you think it was just that transition change that...
I've always struggled with like a fear of abandonment. That's been a very big thing. I always think someone hates me, everyone hates me, or they're talking about me, or I've done something wrong. If I message my friends and they don't reply within 5 minutes, I'm like, have I pissed them off? Have I upset them? Do they hate me? What have I done? And I'm overanalyzing everything I've done in that day or leading up to it for no reason. Like that, and they would just reply, "No, Lauren, like shut up. You're being fired." Like it's a running joke. Everyone knows that I just worry and panic about everything.
But where do you think that fear of abandonment comes from?
So I've had like therapy through the years, and I think a couple of them have said it could be from my dad. So my dad walked out on me and my mum when I was 2, and I haven't seen him since. I think he moved to Spain. He left my older brother. So it could have stemmed from that. I don't know. I think about it a lot, but I think your subconscious does a lot that you don't even realise. So it probably could have stemmed from that. But I can't actually tell you. I've had like a lot of therapy, and I still cannot tell you why or how it started. It's just something I think I've always had, and it's just got worse because I never knew how to deal with it.
I think that from my experiences with certain things, I think there is a lot of subconscious things that happen. You say obviously your dad's leaving you don't think had an impact because obviously he left quite young, but obviously it sounds like it did because you have a fear of abandonment with other people. Because also as well, I mean, one thing that I can say in a similar situation is I've recently been speaking to a therapist for my own situations, but one of the things he touched upon was he reckons I have PTSD from the birth of my second child. It wasn't great. It was horrific, and maybe we can touch on that another time. But basically, it didn't even cross my mind that I might have PTSD from that experience, because it was like, okay, my son's healthy, my wife's healthy, everything's fine, and it's moved on. And like that's the thing that happened in the past. And it never, until I spoke to him about that, it never entered my mind that my emotions and how I feel and if I'm feeling down could be a subconscious thing relating to something that's happened in the past that I've written off. So do you think that's something that's probably led to a lot more of an impact than probably what you're giving it, not credit for, that's probably the wrong word, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It might well do. It's just because I don't think about it every day, I think, well, it doesn't affect me. But yeah, it probably has. And there probably are other things that have happened in my life that don't necessarily stick out to me, but have definitely altered the way that I think about things and why I do things the way I do.
But do you think maybe those things don't, I mean, obviously in more recent years, you have gone through a massive traumatic experience that probably takes precedent over any other thing that you might deem small that could actually be a really large thing. I mean, going back to the dad situation, you got, yes, you was 2 years old. So you I'm guessing at 2 years old, there is no memory of your father there. So like things like that, that's a big thing. But maybe that's not coming to mind because of what you've been through for the last 4 years, 3.
I think when I started therapy after Nelly, I remember saying to them, I'm not ready to have grief therapy. I'm not ready to go over the situation. Nothing you say or do can help me right now. I'm not ready to open that box. I'm obviously dealing with it day to day, but the way I was dealing with it at the time was to kind of shut it away because I had to keep going for Lenny. But one thing I've learned is everything that I went through prior, I think doesn't matter anymore because this has now taken the forefront, as you just said. So when I started it, I said, look, I don't want to go over Nelly. I want to unpick my past and maybe why I think the way I do. So they said, okay, that's quite a good place to start because you can't fix the situation with Nelly if you don't fix the prior. So we was working on a lot of that and I still haven't had therapy to deal with Nelly. I can't go down that path yet. But I will, and I'm open to it, and this is helping talking about it, and it's helping even Connor and I talk about it now. So yeah, the therapy was more for like my past, but I still don't overly know why.
Yeah. You said you didn't really understand that there was potential mental health issues back then, but that you are aware of now. Now you're more aware of it and older in understanding what it all is. Are you still battling with some of those emotions now? And if so, like how does it affect you differently now? Because like you said, obviously you mentioned that you when you was younger you'd drop a spoon and you'd have a complete meltdown. I've known you for some time now. I've never seen you like that. But I'd imagine that there's probably still elements of that.
A lot of it is masking.
Yeah.
So I know my audience as well. So I'm probably more like that with my mum. She's like my safe person, and Connor sees a lot of it. Poor Connor. It doesn't come out to everybody. Like some people, if they're listening, would be like, didn't even realise Lauren was like that. But I am an excellent masker, even from a child. So this is another thing a therapist said to me. I almost live 2 lives.
Right.
So I live the life of like the authentic me, the real me that's angry, uptight, obsessive, miserable sometimes, stressy, highly strung, where the smallest inconvenience would really set me off. And then I've got the masking Lauren when I'm in front of everyone else. That's, it is what it is kind of thing. I make a laugh and joke about everything. I don't take myself too seriously on the outside, but the real me, like the was going to say bedroom Lauren, but that sounds terrible.
The safe space, Lauren.
The safe space Lauren is, a different person. So I just feel so overwhelmed with everything. That's probably the best word to describe me. I get overwhelmed with the smallest thing.
Has that improved over time?
I think it started to. So I struggled a lot through my teenage years in relationships. I've really struggled with relationships because I'll like obsess over someone. Friends as well. I'll make a new friend and I'll obsess over them. And then my brain will just go, oh, not bored of them, but I don't have that obsession anymore. So it was hard about relationships. It was hard making friends and keeping friends. But luckily I have kept all of my friends. I'm not bored of any of them. It's just I hyper-focus on things, which I think a lot of people do. It's just a lot of people don't admit it. So that's been quite hard to overcome, not looking obsessive to people and things. But it's all come down to an undiagnosed ADHD. So I thought I had personality disorders. I thought I had bipolar. I thought I've had everything. But after speaking to people and the therapists, they're like, Lauren, you've just got raging ADHD. So then I went down the rabbit hole of what's ADHD? I thought only 10-year-old hyperactive boys had ADHD. But how it presents in females is completely different to how it presents in males. I don't have the busy bouncing ADHD. I've got like the procrastination ADHD, where I'll sit there and I'll think, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and I will do nothing. And then beat myself up for the fact that I've done nothing. Yeah. I'm not very good at tasks. I have to write lists, otherwise I can't get things done. If I start cleaning something, I end up doing something completely different. I can't stay focused on like one thing, and Connor hates it. If I say to him, right, I want to organise the kitchen cupboards, he's like, no, there is no we in this. You will start it and I will finish it, because he knows I'll get bored. It's like my brain just goes boop. And because ADHD causes like a lot of overwhelm and things like that, I thought I was just really highly strung for no reason. I thought it was just me, but it was the ADHD, the undiagnosed ADHD, the anger outbursts, the compulsivity or whatever it's called, and all of that. It now all makes sense. So it's hard being an adult now and realising, I could have had so much more help, or people around me could have understood a lot more as to maybe why I was the way I was.
So you kind of wish you had that conversation earlier in life?
Yeah, I think it would have changed a lot.
Yeah. Well, so your understanding of it now, you can cope with those emotions better?
Yeah. Well, as a whole, yes. There are still times that I do lose my patience and I have meltdowns and breakdowns and I'm shouting and screaming and I'm really like intense. But I'm like, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I have to like tell myself over and over again, it's not worth it. Just drop it. But yeah, as a teen, I broke so many like remotes from throwing them at the wall because I just had so much anger. And I look back and I almost grieve younger Lauren before Nelly, because now I've been through the worst thing I think anyone can go through. I look back and think, why did I waste so much time being so angry, being so irate, when you didn't even know what was coming? I wish 16-year-old Lauren could see 26-year-old Lauren and think, have a day off. Calm down. Like you have got a wild ride ahead of you and you are crying about the fact that your mascara has gone on wrong. But at the time, it was everything. It overwhelmed me. It consumed me, my mental health.
Do you think back then first question is like, what was the turning point in you going, right, I need to speak to someone about this?
I think I'd fallen out with a friend, and I go straight for the throat as well. If someone upsets me, I will just go straight for the jugular in a way to hurt them. Like, I can be very spiteful. I'm a very, very, very spiteful person. I'll say things without thinking, very impulsive. And then afterwards, I'm just riddled with guilt and think, oh, why did I do that? Why did I say that? And I can't stop saying sorry. And I'm like, I wish I could just get to the point where I didn't do that. So I think something had happened, and my mum or a friend, I can't even remember what it was, but someone was like, Lauren, you can't keep going on like this. Like, you're getting up to your 20s. You can't live life like this. And I was like, yeah, you know what? This isn't normal. I've always known I wasn't normal, because none of my friends kind of acted the way I did, and I've always known I was a bit different. So yeah, I think something must have happened, or I think it might have even been a past relationship ended, and I took it badly, like really badly, and I thought I can't carry on like this. So I went to therapy for you. Took a while, and then I had my first bout of over the phone therapy, I think it was, and they were kind of like, yeah, you haven't got personality disorders. You're not actually a spiteful person. You've just got this undiagnosed ADHD, which has turned your life on a head, kind of thing, because you haven't got it under control and you don't understand why. So I'm acting out on all these impulsives, like, and chasing like dopamine, and it's all because I just haven't been diagnosed, and I think I'm a bad person, but I can be a bad person, but as a whole I'm not a bad person. Yeah. So, but I think that's like everyone, isn't it?
Have you found there's certain things that you can do to help control it, or is it just something that you need to just get through? And the reason why I asked that is because to roll back to, I don't know if the suspected PTSD that I might have, he gave me things to do when things become overwhelming, or things become, the stress levels are building up, like breathing exercises and things like that. And I feel a little bit silly doing them sometimes, but they do help me in those situations. But when it comes to the ADHD and that build up of emotions, is there anything that's worked for you to bring that under control?
So now, excuse me. So now I think I just put life into perspective. I think, right, I've just dropped a spoon on the floor. Has that hurt me? Has that hurt anyone else? What good is it, me flying off the handles? It's just come with a lot of like kind of practice, a lot of reasoning. I think some things don't affect me the way that they used to. So what I would have maybe prior flew off the handle about, I don't now, because you just got to put life in a bigger picture.
Did you start doing that with the therapy, i.e. stepping back from it to say that, or because obviously we have mentioned that obviously you've gone through that much more bigger traumatic thing that no one you'd want to go through has gone through. Is that what's kind of put things into perspective for you, or was it a bit of training in your head to go?
I think a bit of both.
Yeah.
The Nelly thing and losing her was probably, I will never go through anything as bad as that, and I've got to live through this every day. So sometimes when I can feel myself building up, I think, no. And I almost think of Nelly and I think, she went through everything. Why are you getting upset about nothing? Like, think about the bigger picture. And she grounds me a lot. I just think, oh, Nelly went through everything and she was so happy. She was just the best little thing I could have ever wanted in my life.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and I think, look, it's not worth it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but what can you do sometimes? Yeah. Sometimes life just gets too much and there is no reasoning and there is no talking through it, and you have to just let it out. If you're really angry and you want to scream and shout into a pillow, just do it. And then there are times where you think, okay, no, it's not worth it. Just talk yourself down. The breathing techniques do help. I think it's like in for 5, out for 5. And then I think another thing a lady said was grounding techniques. So it's like something you can see, something you can taste, something you can touch, something you can hear, and something you can smell, or like the five senses or something like that.
Yeah.
So that used to help me actually, because I used to think, right, I can look at this, I can look at, and you're just thinking about something else at that moment in time.
Yeah, that's what I've been. Well, it's 4/4s.
Oh, was it the four?
No, it's the 4. So it's the 4/4s. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4.
Yeah,
that's one of the breathing exercises. And the 5 was the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look at 5 things, touch 4 things, smell 3 things, whatever. I can't remember what the order they are because I don't do that one. But like, it's difficult to say they help me because obviously I'm sitting across from yourself when you like. We've said quite a few times off, like when I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed and that, and it kind of puts me in check sometimes where I'm like, is it really that bad? And the answer is no, because there is unfortunately a lot more worse things out there that could happen, which unfortunately you've gone through, and it's for me, from a selfish point of view, I do think like of kind of sometimes like when I'm like stressed out about a certain situation and I'm like, I can't do this, and it's like, well, no, I can do this. I just need to stop. I need to, like you say, just step back from it, evaluate the situation, and then move forward from there.
It's a lot easier said than done, though, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Because life does get quite hectic. Obviously, I don't have a job, so I don't have like work stresses, but home stresses. And I sit there and I think about, like, if my kids are misbehaving. Well, I say kids because Rennie doesn't do much to misbehave yet. But if Lenny's like pushing me, and he can be quite triggering sometimes. I don't really like a lot of loud noises. So when he's screaming and he's throwing things around, being a toddler, I'm like, oh my God, and I can feel myself building up. And if I hadn't maybe gone through this therapy, 'cause at the moment I'm going through, I have a therapist, but we're doing parenting techniques on how to remain calm, how to navigate situations with your toddler if they're being a toddler, being hard work. So although I'm not having therapy for my mental health at the moment, I'm having therapy to help be a better parent. And that is helping so much. Understanding why he does things. But going back to him being a trigger, he'll be really loud.
Yeah.
And I can feel myself being like, I just want to go, Lenny, shut up, or please just stop. And I have to think, I would do anything to hear Nelly scream at me, for her to hit me or do anything naughty. I can't tell you what I would do to have her be naughty for me. So I sit there and I think, let it go.
Yeah.
Just be grateful that he's being naughty. And it's taken a long time to get to that. I remember being pregnant with Lenny and thinking, I'm going to cherish every single moment. I'm never going to lose my patience. I'm never going to be upset. I'm never going to lose my temper. And I think he hit 6 months and he wasn't sleeping. And I was like, get this baby away from me. Like I was going to have a breakdown from the lack of sleep. And I think it took Connor to say to me, Lauren, we would do anything to have Nelly back. And you almost need to be checked yourself sometimes. You can do as much self-checking, but you need someone else to bring you back down as well.
Yeah.
So there's been times where Connor will get in from work and I'll be like, help me, take Lenny away from me for a minute. I just want to go to the toilet in peace. I want to eat a sandwich in peace. And he's like, come on now, be grateful.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you can say that, but at the same time, as a parent of 2 under 2, 2 years and 1 month when the second one come along, but then it's like, I get it's like you say, it's easier to say than not, and I say that from a perspective of I go to work, my wife stays at home, but I see it when I come home, and it's a challenge without any mental health stuff going on.
Yeah.
If anything, kind of. Again, this kind of goes to the how broad mental health is, like what people put on it now. But you can check yourself, or it's still a difficult thing to go through.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to. I mean, so some people do, like you see them out and about, or you see them on social media, and you think like they don't ever look stressed, and they've got 3 kids, and it's like how, like you say, like, oh, you've got 2 kids, and you know your youngest is not really causing trouble because he's 4 months old. Same here, but it's another thing that's there to cause a distraction to something that you need to get done, or an extra noise, or if that's crying, if your child is crying, and the other, it's all that extra overstimulation.
Parenting with ADHD, I think, is one of the hardest things you can do. Because you just get so overstimulated, and you want to tidy up behind them, but you're just as messy as your children. You're trying to clean up children's messes while you've got piles of your own stuff like jotted around, and you just get so overwhelmed. So but that's what I'm working on. I'm working on ways to prioritise. I wasn't very good at prioritising. I'd be like, well, I really need to clean the microwave, but Lenny's crying because he needs milk or something. But my brain wasn't very good at slotting where things need to go, because everything was just so much. But I'll tell everyone to try and have therapy or talk to someone that can help. Or
so this kind of goes back to why we started this podcast, right, which is all about talking, because if I go back to younger me, I didn't talk about anything. Not that I had, or at least I don't ever feel like I felt like I had a massive amount on my shoulders to have to talk about. My wife always says that I've led the most boring life, or most boring childhood, because like there was no massive event. So maybe that was why. But if there was any inconvenience in my life that stressed me out, it was always like, well, I don't need to talk about that. I know what it is. I know what I need to do. I just need to stress about it and get it done, whatever it might be. So it's only really in recent years that I've understood the importance of just talking about it. Get it off your chest. Even if you're talking to someone who can't help with that situation, I think getting it out is a really powerful.
Is a problem halved, apparently.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I could probably agree to that now, because definitely talking about it, regardless of what your stress is, regardless of what your anxiety is, or whatever it might be. And this goes for anyone of all ages as well. And like you say, if you can go back and talk to 16-year-old self and say, like, just calm down, I'll probably do the same. Like, again, the stresses weren't massive there, but it'll be like, why are you worrying about that? So just step back and no stress.
Yeah.
Which again is easier said than done. I know that. You know that. Everyone watching probably knows that. But I think taking that step back and then maybe talking to someone also, it's going to be a massive help. Because I know it's helped me, and it sounds like it's helping you as well.
It's just processing things, isn't it? I don't think many people process what they've been through, even if it's nothing big. And I think a lot of people are scared to talk about their problems because they think, well, I've not lost a child.
Yeah.
I've not been through anything terrible. But that doesn't mean that you can't talk about work problems, relationship problems, friend problems. Like, there is so many things that you can talk about that might even just be niggling you that can help.
Well, the reason why I spoke to a therapist was because of Connor. Because Connor was the one who suggested to me, he was like, it sounds like a lot. Like when I was going through all the stuff that I was going through, because I was like, oh, this should be the happiest year of my life. You know, I've just got married, just bought a house, just had my second child, and I felt so down and stressed and depressed. And it wasn't until Connor said to me, because the same thing is like, I was like, well, what have I really got to be down about? Nothing. What have I got to talk about? There wasn't any trigger for it, or at least I didn't think there was. And it wasn't until he said that to me, I was like, you know what? I'll give it a go. And it's not until speaking about it, it's like, actually, yeah, there is a lot here to unpack. It's not massively traumatic in the grand scheme of things, which is, I guess, a thing to take away for me personally, which is step back, evaluate it. Is it really worth this amount of stress you're putting on yourself? No is probably the answer to 99% of things. And then it just really does help that healing process.
That's good.
Yeah. So you've you mentioned you're going through some therapy stuff at the moment. What's I guess this is kind of an unknown, but do you feel like you're now on the right path with not just the Nelly situation you went through, but also your mental health that you've had in previous years? Do you feel that you're now on that right path to being, I don't know if you can, well, do you feel like you could truly be healed from certain things?
I think I'm on a path and it's very up and down. Some days I can think, yeah, this is really working for me. I've got all the patience in the world. I can really look at things from a different perspective. And then other times I feel lower than low, and it's just a journey. I don't think I'll ever be healed. I don't think I'll ever be 100% okay, but it's just learning to live with it.
Do you think you know enough now that you're going to be stay on this path?
I hope so.
Yeah. And if someone's not on their path yet, what was the thing that led you to start that path?
I would say if you feel yourself going on a slippery slope, kind of with no way out, if people around you are noticing and saying to you, hey, I don't like the way you acted about that, or hey, you need to chill out a little bit, you probably do. And maybe take that as an incentive to think, I need some help. And there is nothing wrong with getting help. If anything, it's probably the best thing that you'll ever do. It's just a lot of people can be too proud almost to get help.
Yeah.
And they think it as a weakness rather than to make them better and as a strength. But I think the way I'm going, I need to unpack the Nelly stuff. I do need to do that at some point, but I'm getting to the point where I think I'm ready.
Yeah.
I can't keep kind of running away from it, but I just wanted to get everything else sorted and have a structure in place and ways to deal with it before I unpacked that. But I think I'm nearly there.
You're ready to unpack it all now?
I think so, yeah.
So I think that will bring us to the end of this podcast, or this episode, at least anyway. I'm sure there's a lot more of a conversation to be had around this. And I'm sure, just like all the previous episodes we've done, we'll be like, oh, we wish you spoke about that. We spoke about that. So hopefully we definitely will know. We'll see your face again soon with some other planned podcasts we've got coming up. So looking forward to hearing those. So thanks for everyone who's listening right now. And look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for having me.